got a very special guest today, pro wrestler, three-time WCW champion, the creator of DDP Yoga, Diamond Dallas Page, on the show today. Dallas, thank you so much for coming.
My pleasure, bro.
So I thought that, maybe because a lot of our listeners, well, some of them are, pretty big wrestling fans. Some of them aren't quite familiar with you. Because we do primarily Star Wars, but we do Star Wars, we do entertainment. We've branched out over the past few years. And I thought, you know what? Why not? Let's go for DDP. He's a great guy, good wrestler, awesome dude, very motivational. Why not? So I thought it was a great idea.
Well, you made it happen.
Hey, and I again, we appreciate you being on. But if we can, I'd like to start off by talking a little bit about the early professional wrestling career. Now, you started off as a manager back in the AWA in 1988, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
What led you to want to actually get into pro wrestling? What about pro wrestling made you go, that's what I want to do?
Well, when I was a kid, I wanted to try it. And when I was 17, I became obsessed with it and actually tried to wrestle when I was 22. And it didn't work out for me, I wasn't mentally ready to commit and put the work in. And I actually had like 3 matches, and I hurt my knee bad again, and it was just a bad experience. But the good experience was that I ended up on the other side, being able to run a small rock and roll bar, and that was one of my other loves was working in the nightclub business. This would be our first time to manage clubs, and I did that for over 10 years. And in '88, I decided to give it a shot as far as a manager, and I sent a tape to the AWA with a bunch of guys who wanted to be wrestlers. And I got a call 2 weeks later, and they said, "I want to bring you guys in for a tryout. We've set your tape around, though. We really like your stick, but, we have a question, like, where you guys been working? No one's ever heard of you." And I said, "Well, that's a bit of a problem because none of those guys can wrestle." And they were like, "What? What'd you send us a tape for then, man?" I was like, it's like a secret society, no one knows how to actually get in. So, those guys could, if you could tell me, you could send those guys to train and I could manage right now. It was pretty much, don't call us, we'll call you. And as luck would have it, 2 weeks later, Paulie Dangerously, a.k.a. Paul Heyman, was working there before me, and he left to go to the NWA with his Midnight Express tag team, and left a huge void open for a guy who had who could talk and had a cool look. So they brought me up because I wore these crazy rock and roll funky clothes and had Diamond Dolls walk me to the ring, and they said, "You fly yourself out, we'll give you a tryout." And that's how I got the gig.
Wow. That's actually really kind of cool. I was not even aware of the fact that Paulie had left, and that's what created your opportunity.
Yeah.
Wow. You learn something new every day. Well, what was it like, though, your time there, like your early time going to the AWA? Like, was it, I mean, I can only assume it was hard going because, everybody's got to pay their dues.
Well, I wasn't a wrestler at the time, and I was just a mouthpiece. So we shot 4 shows at one time, and then I'd be gone. I'd fly into Vegas, a couple for the weekend. We'd shoot the 4 shows on that Saturday, and then I'd be gone. So literally I worked probably 20 days in the AWA. It just came out that I was there a year and a half because I did all the TVs. So from there, I actually started at Florida Championship Wrestling as a color commentator and a manager, and Dusty Rhodes gave me that spot. And I was like, "No, Dusty, I can't do that. I don't know a wristwatch from a wrist lock." And he was, he was like, "Oh, baby, don't worry about a thing. Gordon's sort of going to tuck you to it all." And
yes, the Dusty impression. I was hoping for this.
Gordon taught me a lot. For the next year and a half, I'd be there. Now, the whole time I'm running this big-ass nightclub in Fort Myers, Florida. And I was having so much fun. I was Diamond Dallas Page back then. The booze, the broads, and the party. I was having too much fun. And eventually it was about 3.5 years late, total into it. I got an opportunity to go to WCW. And I went up there, and Dusty was running the show at the time, and he brought me in to manage the Freebirds, and I created Scott Hall's entire gimmick, as the Diamond Stud, which was the predecessor to the bad guy Razor Ramon, and that whole look was created by me in the WCW. And Scott would be the first one to tell you that, from the toothpick on out. And,
wow, really? So you are the man behind it?
Well, I was the man that helped dress up the character that became huge. Because I don't care what you dress somebody up like, you got to have the charisma and the talent that Scott Hall had to become the superstar that he would become. It just took a while for him to get all that together. And, it's like, he lives in Atlanta now. We just worked out today. We're going to dinner, get some sushi tonight. And, when he was going on this new run of trying to get his life back on track, and a year later, from being in probably his darkest moments, he's being inducted in the Hall of Fame. I'd say the ride was plentiful and well worth it. But Scott Hall and myself have had magic moments together from when he came in as a Diamond Stud, and when he left and came back as the NWO with Kevin Nash, and those guys went through everyone. They tore down everyone for a year. The first guy to drop them was me, so.
Yeah, I remember that. I do.
That was magic, and then what we just created here with me just giving Scotty an opportunity to get back on his feet, he took it and ran with it, and, the sky's the limit for him now. Whatever he wants to, move in that direction. And, I always work as a brother and a guide for wherever he needs the knowledge, and back and forth with him, with me,
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I actually remember watching on YouTube. I am a subscriber to your channel. And I remember watching the video where you and Jake had actually called Scott and, talked to him about it. And I did actually want to touch on that because now, I knew there was history there, but now knowing, what, you've just told me, how did it make you feel, when Scott really started to get himself back on track? Like, what did that do for you personally?
It's just, what I'm doing with the whole DDP yoga mindset, because the workout isn't the only part that comes with my program, it comes with a healthy eating regimen that, the food, if people really took the time to watch movies like Food Inc., Genetic Roulette, or the newest one coming out tomorrow, is it tomorrow? It says May 9th. Yeah, on Friday. And this is a woman who's part of Americana. Katie Couric is producing a movie called Fed Up. And if you knew what they actually did to the food, so it tastes good, but it's so bad for you. It's so bad. Like, it's why we have cancer, diabetes, celiac. It's why we have so many diseases today that we didn't have 50 years ago, before they genetically changed all the food. You see, I get people eating real food. And when you're beat up and your body just hurts so bad, and you can just change what you eat and feel a lot better, what's that say about the food, or the fake food?
Yeah, good point.
For him, I got him eating real food and doing a workout that was, as he would later dub, minimal joint impact, that strengthens your core and breaks up scar tissue and alleviates pain. And then overall just, went through the program to get to where he would be at with this program. It's like, you look at the results, and I'm damn proud of him,
Oh, no, absolutely. I think a lot of us, just as fans, are proud of him, because I can speak from being, just a fan and, looking at, behind the scenes of the business, not just being, a quote unquote mark, that, looking at, what Scott had been through, that I know that, at least personally for me, that when I saw that, Scott was, staying with you, doing the DDP yoga, getting himself back on track. I was ecstatic. And that's just coming from the common fan. So I think there's a lot of people out there that probably, while they're happy about it, probably appreciate you almost as much just for the fact that a lot of us were scared we might lose Scott Hall, and nobody wanted that.
Yeah, well, that was a pretty much given at some point,
Exactly. And just, for that alone, a lot of people I know are just like, wow, Diamond Dallas Page definitely has an answer. It may not be the answer, but it's definitely an answer.
Yeah, it's a good answer. It works.
Absolutely.
When you sell 100,000 units in less than 3 years, like over $10 million worth.
Yeah, that's a lot.
That means it works.
Yeah, so something's got to be correct about that. Something has to be working for everybody to do that, to make that kind of cheddar, if I may. There has to be a reason. And that reason is it works. I mean, I've watched a lot of the videos on YouTube, and yeah, it works. Hell, I'm looking to getting into it personally. I have horrible back pain since I blew my back out about 4 years ago. I'm like, dude, DDP yoga is where it's at. Because I actually had the same response that you did when somebody first mentioned yoga. I was like, yoga?
Yeah.
No, dude, that's a chick thing. Dudes don't do yoga.
Yeah, and the funny part, if you really understand yoga the way I do today, yoga comes from India and is a warrior's workout. The women, for thousands of years, were not allowed to do it. If they were caught doing it, they were beaten.
Really?
Really.
Wow.
And, when it came across the pond, it turned into some chick thing because they put all this spiritual mumbo jumbo on it. And there's really not the original shit. Not the original shit. I mean, there's some sort of meditation and, breathing without question, but not any of the whole Hare Krishna shit.
Yeah, the whole like, oh my goodness, you must find it within yourself and all that. Yeah.
Put your arms to the heavens so the universe smiles.
So that way all will align.
Yeah, and it's good. I appreciate it because it's its own animal, but it's not. It's the way we interpret yoga. And for what I'm doing, I didn't develop this for any of the yogis. They got their own yoga. Now, out of the 20 million people who do yoga in this country, I guarantee you, freaking 25 to 30% of them will absolutely love, way more want to do DDP yoga than regular yoga. Now, the other ones who need that silent meditative spot, where they're looking for their inner self, they need to do regular yoga. But if you want to get a workout and get shredded and friggin' get, more flexible and break up scar tissue so you alleviate pain, and strengthen your core, well, then you want DDP yoga. And again, Scott Hall is the one who came up with the line minimal joint impact, because I always wanted to call it zero impact or no impact. But once we blew up huge, my guys were like, dude, you can't do that. Because, my attorneys are like, you can't do that because there is some sort of impact here. And you can't legally say that. So it was driving me crazy. And I had a big board meeting. Scott had just got here like about 2 weeks before. Right. And I have this big, board area in my house and stuff. And we all sat down. I said, we're going to figure out what the line is. Because I would always say DDP yoga is kick-ass cardio. It will dramatically increase your flexibility by breaking up scar tissue and alleviating pain and strengthen your core like never before. And like I said, I'm looking for something to replace zero impact or no impact. I didn't want to say low impact. And I walked out of the meeting 2 hours later. We still didn't have anything. And Scott walked over to me. Well, he shuffled over to me because he couldn't. And he said, "Hey, Dally, I don't want to step on anybody's toes here, but, I was listening to you, what you guys were going through in there. And, I don't like I say, I don't want to be out of line, but, what about minimal joint impact?" I was like, holy shit, that's it. And, that was it. So that became our moniker, minimal joint impact, but it was kick-ass cardio, and it strengthens your body like never before. Like I can do shit at 58 that 99.9% of the friggin', kids who are 22 to 30 in awesome shape cannot do.
I could probably attest to that. I probably can't do half the things that you can do.
Well, I'm talking about people who are in amazing shape. I'm not talking about people who are in shape. So
yes, well, hey, I'm in a shape. I'm round.
okay.
Okay. Well, I'm not a heavyweight, so to speak, but, but no, that's actually really kind of cool, though. Who'd have thought? That's awesome. Scott Hall comes up with the moniker minimum joint impact.
Yeah, minimal. It's crazy.
That's awesome. But, talking about DDP yoga, what really inspired you to come up with the whole concept?
Well, it wasn't inspired. It was more out of necessity. I'm a guy who wouldn't be caught dead doing yoga the first 42 years of my life. But when you start wrestling at 35 and your career doesn't take off until you're 40, and that's when my career took off in 96, 1997 and 1998, I was literally the guy.
Oh, you were the dude. I admit that. I saw you all over the TV. I was like, yes.
Pro Wrestling Illustrated rated me number 4. Stone Cold was number 1. I was number 4, which was really cool to me because me and Steve have been boys for years. And, right around the end of 98, I blew out my back. And I had 3 different back specialists basically tell me, you're done. You're done. You gotta, just give it up because if you continue to try to wrestle, you're going to be crippled. And around that time, it was introduced to me about yoga, and I was, really reluctant, but I finally broke it down. I'm so thankful I did. And in less than 3 weeks, I felt a significant difference. So one night I just was getting ready to crash out, and I figured I'm going to do some more of these yoga positions before I go to bed. And then I added in some of the rehab stuff. I've rehabbed back, both shoulder surgeries, both knee surgeries. So I know a lot about rehab, but again, I know a lot about breaking up scar tissue to help alleviate pain. So I started to work that into the workout. And then I threw in eventually old school calisthenics, push-ups, squats, crunches, but I did them in a slow burn movement. And what I found out, when you're moving in a slow burn movement, in other words, if you're on the bench press and you're popping the weight up and down, your heart rate will go up. But if you lower that weight slow, like over 3 seconds, 5 seconds, 10 seconds, and then hold it there, and then come up slow, you have to engage so many more muscles. And what happens every time you flex or engage a muscle, your heart has to beat faster to get the blood to the muscle. Hence, you get your body in the fat burning zone, literally standing still. This is something no one has done before. So DDP yoga became a workout that was kick-ass cardio that would dramatically increase your flexibility by breaking up scar tissue and alleviating pain, strengthening your core like never before with minimal joint impact. With that workout that became DDP yoga, in less than 3 months, I was back in the ring. At 42, they said my career is over. The doctors, the specialists. At 43, I was a heavyweight champion of the world.
And the funny thing is about it, is that for me, I remember, when, me and my friends were watching wrestling and, we were watching that and, it was alluded, DDP injury, might be retiring. When we saw you come back, we were like, wait, what? How the hell did that happen? And a lot of us at the time were wondering how, and, now hindsight being 2020, DDP yoga, I mean, to a fan of the business, that speaks volumes for the workout alone. Because nobody expected that. At least I don't think anybody did, at least back then. So
it's like anything. Chris Jericho, he was done. This is like 2.5, 3 years ago, and I sent him the videotape of the disabled veteran that I helped walk again.
Yeah.
And when he saw it, he was like, you tell me, you send me whatever you had him do, and I will do exactly what you tell me. And Chris Jericho ended up going back in 5 weeks, he was 85% free. In 3 months, he was 100% pain free. He went from being totally done to wrestling in the main event at WrestleMania in Miami. And he's the biggest supporter of the program. I do not pay Chris Jericho to say a word. He says it because he believes in it, and I may help him make millions of dollars.
Definitely a good motivator, but probably not the only one.
No, it was it helped though.
Oh no, absolutely. I actually, touching on the YouTube channel again, I remember watching the one video of you and Chris Jericho having breakfast together, and your cameraman famously messing up a few times.
Yeah.
Again, thought that was hilarious. But, moving off on just a bit of a tangent, the gluten-free waffle recipe, tried that out. My God, so good.
Yeah, that's the only way I eat. That's the only way. I don't, that particular brand is called Namaste, which is a yoga word, but the company doesn't even do yoga. It is like the name. They're from Iowa. And this woman had 7 children. Each one of them had a different allergy, and it could have been wheat, dairy, soy, corn, potato, milk. She created Namaste Products is the actual first completely allergenic-free flour that there is out there, and it tastes delicious because she uses sweet brown rice flour, and she has found a way to. I'm gonna get a lot of sweet. I have a sweet tooth, like a lot of people.
Okay.
And she's found a way to satisfy me with a healthy sweet tooth that tastes better than any of the other stuff out there. Period.
Yeah, no, it is. It's really good. I actually went out there and found the stuff that you were talking about just because I was like, you know what, I want to try this, and I was blown away. I was like, wow, this is really, really good. But, again, we get great tips on food, even eating for me. I remember the video you did where you were sitting in the hotel room and mixing that salad together with all that organic stuff from Whole Foods. I tried that out, too. I was like, that's amazing. And I'm not a big salad eater. I'm like, oh, God, rabbit food. Never again.
Change the way you eat
good
it.
stuff.
Just change
Oh, absolutely. But I know that you're a bit short for time. We like to give all of our guests that come on the show, we like to give them the soapbox. If there's anything that you want to promote, anything that you want to speak of or say, or any type of shameless self-promotion, feel free to do it.
Hey, it's the king of that shit. Ready?
Go for
I
it.
always, James, I always tell people, I don't think anybody can listen to me, for what I have to say about my own product because I'm biased. But I'll tell you what, there's a place called the internet, and I challenge you to go to Facebook, one word, DDPYOGA, read what people write. You can't get people to write that kind of stuff that they write if it's really over the top. You just can't get them to do it. Because, it's just like getting people to chant DDP or Hogan or Stone Cold. The bottom line is you can't get them to do it. But if they're passionate about it, they will. So that's why I tell people to go to DDP Yoga, one word, on Facebook and read what people write, or go on right now on Twitter. I will guarantee you someone in the last 10 minutes tweeted something at Real DDP or at DDP Yoga about the DDP Yoga program. And I will guarantee you it was positive. Because we don't have negative press because we have a product that really works. So, and after you've done that, then go to ddpyoga.com and invest in your life because, we have an amazing program there that actually cares about the people who get on the program. Isn't just buy the program and you're done. That's why I developed teamddpyoga.com. And it is an amazing place for people to come to try to be inspired. And so many people of that, looking to be inspired, end up being the most inspiring people we have.
You know what? I've checked it out myself. I actually think it's really good. I'm actually trying to save up a little bit of scrimp myself so that way I can get into the program because God knows I could use it. And I've tried a lot of things. And, I'm one of those, I've tried this, I've tried that, nothing works. But, DDP Yoga right there. It seems like it works for people of all shapes, sizes, walks of life. Doesn't matter. I'm not saying it just because, oh, wow, I'm talking to DDP. I'm saying it because I believe that.
Well, it's time for you to get on it then, dude.
Absolutely. Dallas, again, I want to thank you again for being on the show. You're more than welcome to come back anytime you want. We'd love to have you. God knows I would. But again, thank you for your time. I really do appreciate it. Have yourself a great day. And hopefully, we can get you back on the show one day.
You get on the program, get 3 months in, I guarantee you I will.
You know what? I think that sounded like a challenge.
Yes,
and I am up for that challenge.
All right.
Now, it might be about 4 or 5 months from now because, like I said, money's a little tight, raising kids and all that. But I consider that a challenge. I will take that challenge.
Just save yourself one trip to McDonald's a couple times a week, and you'll have plenty. But it don't cost that much. So break it down to payments, bro. So you can't tell me it's that much. I know you can cover it. So if you really want it, you know where to get it. And like I said, you start telling people now, and I told DDP I'll have my head back on 3 months. And if you follow the program, I always tell everyone, DDP yoga works if you do. If you don't work, nothing works.